In a world where Maitland McDonough, First Lady of Horror, speaks, and you have a front row seat. This is Maitland on movies, horror, double feature.
Shelby Oaks. Didn't I go to school with her? So, Maitland, what did you see this week?
I saw a movie called Shelby Oaks, which is one of those fabulous titles that tells you absolutely nothing. So you can go into it with no expectations. And, that's relatively rare in this day and age. Most movies get a fair amount of promotion, and you go in, you kind of know what you're getting. And if you haven't heard anything about it, you still can look at the title. But Shelby Oaks tells you nothing. Shelby Oaks is, in fact, the name of a town.
Oh, I figured it was the main character.
Exactly, because why wouldn't you? Shelby is a not uncommon woman's name, and I'm sure there are plenty of people whose last names are Oaks in one version or another. But no, Shelby Oaks is a town, and Shelby Oaks is a ghost town. And a really good one. It's a really beautifully shot. It's a ghost town that used to have a large amusement park, large by small town standards, but
Yeah.
it had a big Ferris wheel, which is now lying on the ground, and the various other detritus that shows you that there was something there. And an amusement park is actually a great thing to have in a haunted town because I think most of us associate them with fun,
Yeah.
right? Whether you
Well,
went with your parents or you went with your friends when you were in high school, and mostly what you did was hang out, but it's a place to go, things
I
to
don't know.
do.
At this point, I think a lot of people also associate them with horror because it's been a setting in so many horror movies at this point.
Oh, absolutely, because there's so much about an amusement park that can be terrifying, from the rides. I'm sorry, I will never get on another roller coaster as long as I live. And I don't have a fear of heights, and I'm not afraid of getting into a car, but yeah, that big dip to me is not fun. And it doesn't even
Yeah.
make me sick to my stomach. I just do not like the velocity of the
Yeah.
downward slope on amusement parks. And also seedy amusement parks.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, they're very creepy. Sort of
Yes.
halfway to closing, and nobody there who works there really has his or her heart in it. It's just like, okay, this is going to be over at some point, and we just have to get through till September or October, and then yay, we don't have to be here anymore. And there's also a kind of melancholy to going to amusement parks when you're not a kid,
Yeah.
because they weren't made for you. They were made for kids and for adults bringing their children. But if you're there just as an adult, yeah,
Yeah.
it reminds you of things you did or did not do as a kid. In fact, my parents never took us to an amusement park when we were kids. So I'm not regretting the fun times that I used to have there with my family. It's just they are melancholy, especially the large ride structures, an abandoned roller coaster, an abandoned Ferris wheel. They're truly sad in a way that ordinary abandoned buildings, say, aren't, because you don't associate every abandoned building you see with so many people had so much fun there, people were laughing, people were eating ice cream, people
Yeah.
were walking on the beach if the amusement park happens to be near a beach. And now it's just a lot of metal and detritus that's blown in over the years because nobody goes in and cleans up abandoned amusement parks, right? So,
I
anyway,
I have a very visceral reaction to that. So a couple of blocks away from me, there used to be a place called Adventurers Inn, and it was one of these little amusement parks. And I got to watch it decline and turn into a hangout for people you did not want to have your children near, and
yep,
eventually finally collapse. And so, yeah, watching it go from being a very happy place, and as I aged out of it being my kind of place, also watching it age out of being a place.
yeah,
There's a lot of baggage there. There's a lot of pain.
yeah, there is. There's a lot of baggage and a lot of sadness and pain that goes with it. So that's one of the great things in Shelby Oaks. It does, and it doesn't dwell on it. It's just a thing that you see. But the real tragedy in Shelby Oaks for the main character, whose name is Mia, is that her sister disappeared when she was a child.
Yeah.
Never found. I mean, finding a dead child is bad enough, but at least you know what happened to your
Yeah.
child. So if you're the other kid in that family, you grow up with a tremendous sense of loss, both of your sibling and of the way it screwed up your family.
And for a lot of people, it ends up defining you. Oh, that's the girl who lost her sister.
Yep.
And that becomes your identity to a certain level.
And for some people, I think it makes them into the people who just have to know. They just have to know, no matter how painful and possibly futile it is for them to be so invested in something that they clearly can't change. Also, something that they didn't do. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
But it hung over their families and some part of their childhood like a cloud that follows you around every place you go. There's no getting away from it.
I just had breakfast with a friend who's going through chemo right now and basically said, I love all of my friends, but I don't know how many more times I can update people on my health with the same update.
Yeah.
Because it becomes part of identity when there is a tragedy point and people want to connect with you and they want to show empathy and they're trying to do the right thing, but it becomes a repetitive, this is who you are,
Yeah.
and it can swallow you. And with something like what you're talking about here with the disappearance, you know, chemo hopefully is a short-term solution and then things get better.
Yeah.
This is a thing that doesn't leave.
Yeah. A child that's been missing for years is a child you're not going to find.
So how does all that, spoiler free if possible, how does that build into the effect and tension of the story here?
It puts an underlying pall, which is a odd metaphor, but over the entire story, because this past grief is just there all the time. And what the main character in this movie has done is she has a podcast and she talks about all kinds of crime related things, and it's clearly a way of just getting that stuff, if not out of her system, under control.
Yeah.
Into a way that she can handle it.
People do podcasts about disturbing topics. I'm very confused by that.
I know. Who thought? Who knew that people do these things and people listen to them? I'm sure because partly I think because it's cathartic.
Yeah.
You can see somebody else's pain and see them dealing with it. And if you have dark things in your own life, well, you can put them on the back burner because, oh my God, this is so much worse.
Yeah.
It's a very useful tool.
On the main podcast, on the Horror Words podcast piece of this, we had somebody on recently, and my co-host John said, which one of the two of you has a darker backstory? And one of them said, well, I picked up radioactive waste as part of the Chernobyl cleanup. And the other one said, well, the first story I wrote was about how my grandmother in real life helped foil a serial killer. And we were like, I think she wins, but yeah. Yes.
Yeah, those are two bad ones. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and look, there's a lot of darkness in the world, and a lot of people have been touched by the various forms of darkness, and it doesn't go away. People totally go on and live their lives, and there are probably people in their lives that don't even know that happened, especially if you're not in a small town. If you're in a small town and you're the sister of the kid who disappeared on Halloween, yeah, you have to move. You have to move to the nearest big city and just get away from it, because otherwise it will always be there. And even when people aren't looking at you and thinking, that's the girl whose sister vanished on Halloween, you think they are every time anybody glances at you.
But the funny thing is, she's still bringing it with her, because if she's doing the podcast, she's kind of making it her identity again. So it's running away from a thing, but carrying it with you and then putting it out on display again. And
Yeah.
that's incredibly human.
And the argument for that is, well, at least you're putting it out and not bottling it all up inside you where it's going to poison you. It's still poisoning you, but it's not poisoning you as fast because at least you have a way of combining it with other things, other experiences. The bad thing, of course, is if you do a call-in show, because then, of course, you get all the call-ins from people who want to share their traumas because they don't want to share them with the people in their lives.
Yeah.
They want to keep it someplace where at least it's not right here in the room with me. It's out someplace.
Okay, so this movie has this layer of the amusement park that's abandoned, has this layer of the missing child from her childhood. Is it one of those stories that just keeps building out the layers like that, or what mechanic is it using here? What depth is it using? What's the draw for the audience?
Well, the great draw for the audience is that one day Mia gets a videotape, and the videotape purports to be about what happened. And the videotape is delivered by a man who gives it to her and then shoots himself in the head. So just, yeah, just one more thing.
I'm sorry, but as a horror and humor writer, my immediate thought is he delivers the tape, he shoots himself in the head, and she looks at the package and goes, "Oh no, they're 3 doors down." And I may use that in a story. I may take that and put that somewhere because that's just so good.
But yeah, it is. Yeah, it's great. But no, that is not what happens here. It just makes everything worse, basically. So, yes, it is a horror film, no two ways about it, but it is a horror film rooted so deeply in grief that it's actually a little bit hard to watch in a way that you don't expect from horror movies. You expect horror movies to make you jump and to gross you out, depending on what.
This is more grounded.
This is extremely grounded in trauma, basically. So yeah, it's kind of amazing.
So one of my go-to questions has become, so who's the audience? Who's this movie going to appeal to? Who wants to come see?
Well, it's going to appeal to people who like ambiguity in their horror, thriller, what have you movies, because it's not punching you in the face. There's no monster running around and terrifying people, There's no mad doctor, there's no sadistic killer. There is just this overwhelming sense of grief that's also wrapped around a found footage conceit, because there is this tape. That doesn't explain anything, really. It just adds to the aura of, I don't know what is wrong. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with the world? What's wrong with anything? It's, I think, deeply unsettling. And, of course, I've seen a lot of references already to it as a found footage horror film. It's not. It's a movie where there is a videotape and there are things on that tape that are definitely relevant. But the movie itself is a straightforward narrative film. So I feel that it's a good thing to say that. It's a psychological thriller that does have a found footage component in that this videotape, which tells you something about when this movie is set, adds to a person's existing trauma and fuels it. It really is the gasoline on the fire. That there's no getting past it at this point. She's basically internalized it until this is the rip the wound right back open moment. I was very impressed by it. I really was. Its subtlety is something you don't always get in horror films. It is very much a psychological movie. And also, I will say, it was Kickstarter funded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very much a do-it-yourself.
Is this a streamer, or is this going out to theaters, or?
This is, as far as I know, going out to theaters.
And soon.
And soon, very soon. So I really recommend it for people who are not looking for Monster on the Rampage, Vampire Town, some of the more standard horror thriller movie tropes. It's very grounded in people's lives and in the ripple effect of things that happen in the past. And part of that is perfectly embodied in that amusement park. You know, it's like those
So this gets a big thumbs up.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Very
It gets
good.
a big thumbs up. It's a good movie, and I recommend it. Does not have any monsters running around or anything. It's all demons of the mind.
Yes. Very good. So thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll speak to you soon.
On behalf of Maitland McDonough and myself, Charles Baruch, we wish you nothing but happy dreams.